Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we're taking a first look at this. This is Ahotnik. It is headed to Kickstarter soon and we're going to take a look inside. Now, I'm going to start a little bit differently to how I normally do because something that's really exciting about this is there's quite a lot of lore to it. There's a backstory that makes sense. This isn't just mechs fighting in sort of a high-coloured 90s epic Pacific Rim. It's not just that. It is that. But it's not just that. There is also reasonings why this has happened, a rich lore that tells you and makes you really feel like you're involved in the game. So we'll give you a very brief overview of it, but do go check it out with these guys directly. Links, of course, are in the description for you. So imagine, if you will, the year is 3001. All is fine. Everything is going marvellously. The humans are doing amazingly. We are at the peak of our scientific and general development. Everything is great. Apart from, the usual not being united, war going on, that kind of thing. But fast forward to the year 3006 and things have changed. From different dimensions come these incredible monsters that are being labelled as demons. Now those demons are brutalising the world. The cities are reduced to rubble. The population has decreased incredibly. And what can you do? What is there to save you? Well, by 3012, things have started to look a little bit up because we begin to create these mechs. Now, those mechs are ones that are able to fight against the demons. Can you imagine the joy of the first mech fighting that first demon and winning? What a change. Now, they were named Ahotniks, which is a throwback to the old Russian tongue, but are basically hunters, and this is sort of a new common language way of saying the original Russian. I'm not going to try the original Russian. I did languages GCSE and it didn't go well for me, so we're not even going to attempt it. But that leads us to the Ahotniks. Now these are two-person manned mech suits, so you have to sort of work in sync with your partner and make these incredible battles. Now years go by, they push back the demons. The demons are gone, so we think. But then human race does what human race does and they start fighting amongst themselves instead. So era of prosperity, doing wonderfully, but actually, can this mech go against that mech? Yeah, sure, okay. Boom, suddenly we're fighting again. Now the problem is that whilst you're also doing that, is those demons didn't disappear quite as much as you thought they did, and they might be back to you to cause some chaos. So, plenty going on, lots of excitement, lots of things to think about, lots of things to consider. Of course you're going to be playing as the mechs because that is the coolest thing to do, but you are going to have to be careful with those demons as well. So, that is all in this beautifully sized box, which we'll go through now. So, you can see the sort of style from what we've got as the box cover, so how it is that we're going to do it. Now, I do always say in videos such as this to make you aware that this is a prototype. Things are going to change, things have changed, your internal structures are going to change for one, that's always the way. Rulebooks are being updated still, but are still fully functional, and there may be some changes, so be aware that this may change before it gets to you should you back for it. However, there's plenty here for us to take a look at, plenty here for us to see. The only one I will do ahead of time is, as always with prototypes, the miniatures have been created using resin rather than the plastic that they will be in, just because it's a prototype. So we'll get a really good look at what's happening, but just be aware it will be a little bit more sturdy when it comes to you. Now, let us do the moment of truth. Da, 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 da. Now, as I open this ginormous box, be aware that it is a 4 to 6 player game from the off. Now, these guys aren't stopping anywhere. They've already got expansions planned. They've already got things they'd like to add to it to be able to play in different incremental numbers and to sort of add in a couple of different things. But in this version, it is for ages 13 plus, and it will take around 90 minutes to play. Obviously, whenever I say the amount of time, I'm like, I don't think my times ever match up to what they say on the box, but it is a good start nonetheless. So you're looking at quite a chunky game with plenty to consider and plenty to do. So let's start with the board. Now, given the size of the box, you will be unsurprised to hear that the board is rather large. Let's have a quick unfold and I will talk a little bit more about what we're doing here. So if I show you this, again, as a prototype copy, so your print quality will change a little bit, but it's pretty solid for a prototype, to be fair. Look how much space we've got here. There's so much. I'm a big fan of the hexagon side anyway. Let's keep that out as almost our play mat as we continue on through. So you're going to be playing against each other. So you're going to be fighting against the other mechs in order to try and win your space, your territory, your existence, the end of the game. That's what you're trying to win. Now, whilst fighting each other, you have to be careful that the demons don't fight you back, but you also have to consider that you're working in teams. So that sort of 4-player aspect is 2 pairs, and you have to mentally think, and you have to make moves without corresponding with each other. So it is about how in sync you can be with your partner there. Now, that sounds frankly impossible, and especially in so many games I talk about how people have different mindsets, and sometimes it's really good to think how they think and try and second guess how you're going to do things, especially with like word games, party games, etc, etc. The fun is not knowing what the other person is doing. However, because this is sort of more strategy based and you have a certain number of options on things you can do, what you'll find is as you're playing you understand that, oh well, we definitely need to go over there, so they will have made the decision for us to get over there by doing this, so if I do this, we're in sync. Perfect. And in practicality, that means that when you're making moves or you're getting to the phase where you're revealing whether this has been successful or not, there's sort of the upside to it of the sort of joy of actually, yeah, do you know what? We managed this. We are so in sync that we completed this flawlessly. But there's also the effect of when you don't manage to do so and that failure comes into it. And the nice thing about that is it feels very mech-based. It feels like, okay, well, I told the suit to do this, but I pressed the big red button by accident and for some reason it's not working, so we tried switching it off and on again, let's do that. That sort of logic that these things can fail, and sometimes it's human error. So in this case, obviously, of course, it's because of human error, but you can easily turn around and go, well, I tried to make this move and it was a mechanical error. So it thematically works very, very nicely. Now, components wise, there's a lot going on. Let me just show you what the inside of the box looks like, remembering please that the inserts will change as this is a prototype, but you can see there's a fair bit in here. Although as a prototype goes, by the way, just not getting bags is quite delightful. There is a huge surprise in here. I will say that these components aren't as deep as you think. They're a tray equating to about this. It's just there's cool stuff underneath, but we'll come to that in a moment of surprise later. But let's take a look at some of the things that are involved. So if we pull these from the side, I will show you first of all. So you have these, it would help if I turn them the right way around, so that you can see the different versions there. So these are your pilots, nice and easy to recognise, nice and easy to see on there. And you of course have your different colours representing your different teams, so how you're going to play with your fellow players. Now of those, there's plenty of detail and progression that's included within those. So of course the thing is, fighting the demons, why should you fight the demons when you can just fight the others? Well, first of all, you don't want the demons to win. Second of all, you don't want them to kill you. But third of all, you can pick up things like upgrades as you do. So it's almost worth sometimes trying to take them out early, getting that upgrade to be more powerful further on. But again, it's a risk because you don't want them to take you out. There's a lot going on. I love a bag. As much as the next kid, I like being provided with these because it makes life easier. And inside here are demonic DNA tokens. Yep, that's right. Now, there are quite a few tokens within this, as you'll see as I go through. Thankfully though, despite the impression you get from this automatically is that it's going to be a very heavy style game, there's going to be a lot of components and a lot to balance, it never feels too heavy. So there are moments where in certain games you can be playing along and just think, it didn't need to be this complicated. And nicely they've taken out a lot of that in order to keep the game very quickly paced, which I'll be honest, I'm grateful for a lot of the time because you know how I feel about reading instructions. Now, we have dice, we have different cubes available, very good colours, and some extra little bits and bobs included in there that all become clear as you start playing. But in terms of sort of cost per piece, there's a lot in here. Now, as we carry on going, I have to remember where to put things back because it's so beautifully packaged. Now, more tokens, there are of course quite a few. These represent sort of corrupted earth. So when you've had impact there, and we also have plenty of these. I'll just show you what these sort of vaguely look like. These are action tiles, so you'll have different ones of these, so actually I will show you the differences because I did put them back properly, are different sets, so these are what you'll go through. Now really there's probably something like 5 different tokens that you've got to get your head round, which really isn't a lot, and they're quite clear on what they are. So nice and easy to pick up, which I'm a fan of. Now, we then start onto these. I always love these, that allow you to sort of keep yourself up to date quite nice and easy. But what we're talking about here is your Oxy boards and your Demon boards. Now, one thing I should have mentioned from the start is that Ahotniks are sometimes called Oxos, so you will see Oxo across certain things. So if I give you an idea, this is Oxo 3, and then we have different dials to represent different aspects that you'll be keeping an eye on as you play through. And there's also sort of Demon boards and the like, where you have that saying there, so you can keep track of what's going on very, very easily. For, as I say, for something with this much in it and this much that you're doing, and then the sheer size of it, resource management is actually a lot easier than most games of this nature. Now for what I consider to be the exciting part. It's all exciting, but you know when you get a bit of a surprise when you open a box? This is one of those. So removing that top piece, take a look at this. So many miniatures, and I don't even think we can call them miniatures. I think they're figures at this point because they're huge. Now let's have a quick nosy. Now, as I said before, just be aware these are made from a different material from what they will be when you see them in resin, so they will look a little bit different. However, let's look at this guy. Look at him. Now there's some weight behind that. It's only a resin miniature, which is a big deal anyway, but you see what I mean. But he is chunky. Now then, if you imagine him on the board fighting back while you're playing, that's really bringing it out of the table. It makes it sort of seem more, first of all, in scale with the size of the board, but also gives you an idea of the sort of terror that demons have caused and have done beforehand. These aren't just sort of, I don't know, standees that stand there and you're like, okay, well that represents a demon and I appreciate that they should be big and terrifying. No, he's actually big and terrifying. How wonderful. Now, it doesn't stop there. There are multiple, as you will have seen, which include this guy who just looks like a tornado. These you could imagine coming from a different dimension, right? Because you just can't imagine anything on Earth being created or like existing of that nature, that sort of ethereal, like, I appreciate it's in purple, but it feels like sort of a smoke and wind and tornado-esque vibe to it that instantly makes it quite terrifying. But maybe I watched too much Scooby-Doo, it was good. Anyway, you also get your mechs are included in there too. So if we just pull out one of these. So this is your Ahotnik. This is the red team one. We also, of course, have our team green and our team blue as well. Check out the wings on that. So together, you're creating this quite impressive group. It really plays into that like fun vibe. Like, we've all watched the films where there's big mechs fighting everything and it's really cinematic, and you're bringing that cinema into your board game, and quite nicely too. Now for the last two, if that wasn't enough, because of course you have to be outnumbered, there are just more of those terrifying demons. Now those obviously outnumber. There are 4 of those, there are 3 of the mechs, so already the odds are not in your favour because you're fighting one of these guys and these guys. Now, last few things to mention is that whilst you're embroiled in this battle, you need to be careful of who's doing the final punch, because if you've been fighting against this Ahotnik rages and a demon comes in and steals your kill, that's on them. You're going to have to be careful of that. But also, even if you're taking the last punch, depending on how well the demons are succeeding on the board, might gain them the victory. So there's almost this cooperative get rid of the demons style, where you both have a common enemy you want to get rid of, but it's all about your victory, so you and your fellow player want to win at the end. Now, more practically, the game takes place over 4 phases. You have your pilot phase, where you sort of make your commitment as to what you're going to do without your fellow player knowing. You have your Ahotnik phase, where you have your attacks. Your demon phase, where, you know, the demons come, and your recovery phase, so sort of reset and then go back again. So all very straightforward, all makes a lot of sense, and if you play it right, leads to your victory. Now, I mentioned about this heading to Kickstarter. I will pop a link to the website at the bottom so you can go and sign up for notifications ahead of time and be there day one for when this launches. If you have any questions about the game at all, do pop those in the comments. I will do my best to come back to you with answers for them, but we're excited about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this something you've been waiting for? Is this something that you would play? I want to know about it. And if you enjoy games like this, of course, like and subscribe. We're full of tabletop gaming goodness. We've got all of the great stuff both on YouTube and on our website, which is tabletopgaming.co.uk. So check that out for news, reviews and features on the whole breadth of tabletop games. Plus, you can pick up a subscription to our magazine, which is a monthly publication in print and digital, again on the coolest stuff in tabletop. Don't miss out. With that, I will say thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and speak soon.